Hi, my name is Dasha, and I'll be reading Chapter 5, The Baking Contest. Okay. Wow, what happened here? Patrick Picklebottom stared at the wide, thin layer of powder that covered the dark green floor and blocked the entrance of the food pantry in the school's home economics room. I accidentally dropped the bag of flour, and it got everywhere. Ravi Stingleberry admitted, shaking his head and looking at the floor. I was in a rush to finish the cake I was making for the baking contest, and well, you know me. Patrick conceded. He did indeed know Ravi. Jovial and friendly, with his shaggy blondie hair always in his eyes, Ravi was well liked, but known to be very clumsy. If there was a spill on the floor or a desk, chances were Ravi was somewhere nearby. Are you sure it was only one bag? Patrick asked incredulously. It looks more like you spilt a whole flour delivery truck. Just then, Claire Cobblepot, Patrick's best friend, skipped over to them, stopping short at the edge of the spill. Wow, what happened here? She asked, reciting Patrick's initial inquiry word for word. I spilled a bag of flour, Ravi repeated, and then, anticipating Claire's next question, added, and yes, it was only one bag. I was rushing around trying to finish my cake for the baking contest later today. I went into the pantry to get ingredients that I needed, and just ended up carrying too much at one time. Looking back at it, it was kind of funny. I was holding a bag of flour, 2 bags of chocolate chips, a container of frosting, a stick of butter under my chin, and half a carton of eggs. Patrick and Claire laughed as Ravi started to mime himself, holding too many ingredients at once. He wobbled around, pretending to hold invisible food, and continued. I walked out of the pantry and a box of graham crackers caught my eye. I turned to look at it, which made the butter start to fall out from under my chin. In a panic to catch the butter, I had to let go of either the eggs or the flour. I figured the eggs would be messier, so I let go of the flour instead. The bag split apart and the flour went everywhere. Why didn't you just let the butter fall? Patrick asked. Ravi looked at the sea of flour that lay between them on the pantry door and considered this. Now that you mention it, he said thoughtfully, that probably would have been the best idea. So what did you do? Claire asked. Did you have to withdraw from the contest? No, Ravi said. I brought the rest of the ingredients that I had over to my workstation, then just went back into the pantry and got another bag of flour. And while I was there, I also took that box of graham crackers. You can never have too much of that. That's very true, Claire said, squatting down next to the edge of the flour spill, then gently running her finger over it. What are you doing? Patrick asked, his face scrunched up in confusion. Just writing. It's fun, like taking the first step in the new snow. She continued moving her finger around the flour until she finally stood up to admire her work. They all looked down at it, the smooth field of white now marred with the letters CC plus PP forever. Patrick rolled his eyes. Oh, brother, he said, sighing, and then, anxious to change the subject, he turned back to Ravi. Did Mrs. Groomspittle get angry with you when you spilled the flour? Mrs. Groomspittle was the home economics teacher and had a quick temper. A stickler for the rules, she wouldn't think twice about assigning extra work or even handing out detention for you as little as speaking up in class without raising your hand. No, she wasn't here. Home EC is my last class of the day, and I was really late for it today. I spilled a couple of cans of paint in art class and had to stay after to clean up. By the time I got here, everyone else had already been done baking their cakes and was on their way out. Ravi looked at the clock on the wall at the front of the class. It was 5:02. I took the cake out of the oven about an hour and a half ago and decorated it after it cooled. And the judging for the contest starts at 6 o'clock, so I have time to clean up this mess before everyone comes back. What are you guys doing here anyway? Did you bake something for the contest too? No, Patrick said. We were just in the library studying for tomorrow's math test and figured we'd take a break and come look at some of the cakes and stuff that are competing. So show us yours. Sure, Ravi said enthusiastically. Come on, I'll show you really quick, then I have to sweep this up. They left the food pantry and walked to the front of the class where a large assortment of colorful, delicious-looking cakes stood in a row along a wide countertop. There were cakes of all shapes, flavors, and sizes, from simple vanilla-frosted bundt cakes to triple-decker double fudge layer cakes, and everything else in between. Ravi led them to a short, flat golden pound cake with chocolate icing near the middle of the counter. There are chocolate chips inside, and the bottom is graham cracker crust. I think it has a real shot of winning. It looks great, Clara said, her eyes wide and her stomach grumbling. I wish I were one of the judges. Thanks, said Ravi as Claire wandered off to look at the other contest entries. Patrick, would you mind grabbing a dustpan and helping me clean up the flour? As they began sweeping the floor in the front of the food pantry, Patrick asked, How did you bake the cake if you were the only one here? Isn't Mrs. Groomspittle the number one? Isn't Mrs. Groomspittle's number one rule that nobody can use an oven if the teacher isn't in the class? Ravi stopped for a second and hesitated before starting to sweep it up again. Yeah, I guess I sort of broke that rule. Do me a favor and don't tell anyone, okay? I don't want to be disqualified from the contest. Patrick was quite quiet for a moment before he continued. Don't worry, I won't say anything. But in fairness to everyone else who entered, you should really think about withdrawing your cake from the contest. We both know you didn't bake that cake you showed us. How could Patrick be so sure? Hint, no additional research is needed. All of the clues you need for this one are right here in the story. Turn to page 92 for the answer. Thank you for listening.